Hello, everybody. How are you out there? Hello, hundreds of thousands of people around the globe. Thanks for joining me in this fight, in this quest to just have a peaceful, sustainable world. Just honestly, just to have everyone just chill out. Just chill for like a second. Can you just hold off for a second killing each other? The last several videos have gotten over 100,000 views on the various platforms. So thank you guys for growing this show, for making it bigger and better, and for getting the word out there about everyone should just chill out. Dog. Can we bring back dog? I don't think people use dog anymore. But thank you for being here. Please take a second to click subscribe, click thumbs up. We are over 50,000 followers on Rumble, which certainly helps. It also means you will be alerted to when these videos come out. I have a big show for you today. I say that every time because it's always freaking true, okay? That's why I say it. Big show. I'm going to give you the numbers on how the U.S. is the largest mass murder machine in the world. And I think a lot of these numbers you won't know. You won't have heard before. So some of them you will, but a lot of them you won't have. And so it's always good. It's always good to have the numbers. It's always good to have the numbers when you're like, we kill a lot of people. And it's like, no, literally, here are the numbers as to how we are the largest mass murder machine. I mean, they do say go big or go home. So there is that. So we have gone big when it comes to murdering loads of folks. We have gone big. So there is that. I'm going to get into the new enforcement of making it illegal in a particular city in America to be homeless. Now, other cities have led with that. I'm going to show you a new video. Also, protesters being beaten and abused for trying to stand up and actually have our government, do something. Like even if just like on a Tuesday, they just like did something to try and make this world better, to make it sustainable, to make it so that we can actually keep living here in 10 or 20 years. I mean, I don't plan on being around, but I'm just saying, like, those who choose to stick it through that long should have a world. And so I have a new video of that. All of this coming. I have a lot of good news too. So I know that doesn't happen all the time, but it's happening now, bringing you some good news as well. But yeah, thanks for being here, and make sure and share it and all that good stuff. Share this with people. Let them know. I'll talk more about this later, but I am going to be doing my first live Zoom stand-up show, like a full new, I think it'll be about 45 minutes roughly, close to an hour. That's what 45 minutes is in my math that I do in my head. I don't know how you do it. I call it 45 minutes, close to an hour. Full new, all new stand-up comedy set via Zoom. It'll kind of be my first comedy via Zoom ever, but it'll be the first, definitely the first full set, and that'll be as part of the Green Party's fundraiser this coming Saturday. They asked me to do it. I am a supporter of the Green Party, but I'm also a supporter of other things. I've supported many things over the years because I say throw shit at the wall and see what sticks and see if we can create any change. So I am a supporter of the Green Party, and I'm a supporter of certain other parties that are outside the corporate ownership of our world. So that's at gp.org, but I'll talk more about that later. That's this Saturday. Okay, so let's get into this first story about the U.S. being the largest machine for mass murder in the world right now, but also in the world ever, because we have more people in the world right now than ever. So we are the largest mass murder machine ever. Meet the world's most murderous killing machine, the United States of America. This is from Strategic Culture Foundation. If the political culture in the U.S. changes, someone might open a museum dedicated to the victims of capitalism or the U.S. empire. And I do love that. I love that. Just as a little note at the beginning. Hey, if we have a new political system, and everything changes in the world, and we actually like wake up and we're like, oh, here's how to run things. Here's how to make the world actually equitable and sustainable and all of those things. Then we'll have a little museum where people can go and be like, hey, learn of all the victims, learn of all the people that died. I'm in this museum experience. Don't worry, there's a jungle gym for the kids. Okay, don't have no fear. There's little hats you can buy in the gift shop that say, I saw how many people the U.S. empire murdered, and all I got was this stupid hat. I'm sure there'll be a gift shop. Anyway, here are the numbers. And for those of you listening to the podcast, which is called The Lee Camp Show on Spotify, it's called Moment of Clarity on other platforms for a slew of reasons. Anyway, if you're listening to the podcast, this is a chart showing the various millions. And this is clearly not exhaustive. I mean, I can list many that are not on this chart, but just listen to some of these numbers. So the estimate is 13 million. Oh, I forgot. I can actually zoom in on this chart for those of you not listening to the podcast. Let's see. Is that zoomed in? I hope so. Not that. Okay. 13 million indigenous people killed in the Holocaust that resulted from the European colonization of North America. In the genocide would probably be a better term. 13 million indigenous is the estimate. 13.5 million workers have died in the U.S. or outside working for U.S. corporations from disease, sickness, or in anti-labor massacres. So these are, millions and millions of workers. Yes, some of them just actively shot, but they're adding in, and I think very rightly so, they're adding in all the workers who died because they couldn't survive the situation that job put them in, that corporate America, U.S. corporations put them in. 13.5 million is the estimate that died from that. In Korea, the U.S. supported a government that slaughtered over 100,000 of its own people and carried out a bombing campaign that led to the death of about 1/10 of the North Korean population. I actually think that number is low. I have heard many times that the U.S. bombed Korea and North Korea, what is now called North Korea, and killed actually a third of the population in Korea, many millions of people. Between 1775 and 1945, the U.S. caused 127 million deaths as a result of its wars. That's from 1775 to 1945. These included the hundreds of thousands of Japanese who were killed in the Tokyo firebombing and the dropping of the 2 atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And as I've covered before, and hopefully people are starting to learn, because this is one of those secrets about our history that can't really be told, has to be covered up, is that the 2 atomic bombs did not need to be dropped at all. At all. Like, at all. Like, not only was Germany already out, all right, they had already thrown in the white flag. They were done. So not only was Germany not in the war anymore, but Japan had said many times they were ready to surrender. They just wanted to keep their emperor as a symbolic gesture. And we were like, no, we need to drop these bombs and just, fucking disintegrate hundreds of thousands of people. And the real reason, if you really study the history, the real reason the U.S. dropped them was A, to prove that they worked, but B, to prove the power of the U.S. to the Soviet Union. Even though we were technically allied with the Soviet Union in World War II, the ruling elite of the U.S. empire were more scared of the Bolshevik Revolution than just about anything, more scared of workers standing up and fighting back than just about anything. And this is not me saying that everything the Soviet Union ever did is wonderful and right. And no, fuck that. But guess what? You can believe both things. You can know both things. So they were more afraid of the workers standing up and ending up with communism or something similar. And so they figured, well, why not liquefy a large percentage of the Japanese population. And that'll prove to the Soviet Union that we could do that to them. And that's basically what it was. Up to 1 million Filipinos were killed resisting U.S. imperial intervention in the Spanish-American Philippines War. In 1965, the CIA backed a coup in Indonesia that resulted in the deaths of millions of alleged communists. Millions of Muslims. And also, as with any fucking genocide against, I'm killing all the communists. As with any time that kind of stuff goes on, anytime you have people going, let's kill all of the fill in the blank, guess what? You end up killing a lot of people who are not even fill in the blank. So even if you were to agree that, you know what, I disagree with that type of people so much that I just think they should all just die because I don't like the system that they support, even if you believe that, which already you're a sociopath, maybe a psychopath, but even if you believe that, when you start rounding up people and going, we're going to get them, we're going to get all the fill in the blanks. Yeah, it generally ends up being a lot of people who are not the fill in the blanks. It ends up being just anyone someone else pointed at and goes, that guy is totally a fill in the blank. Oh my God, does he love filling in blanks? I saw him filling in all the blanks. That guy, dude, hey, right over there. You know, and that shit just runs wild. And you just end up with tons of people who don't even fit in the category of the fill in the blank. And then again, it's also just fucking psychopathic to kill all the fill in the blanks, even if you're doing it accurately, even if you had like a really good accounting system. Anyway, millions of Muslims were killed in retaliation for the 9/11 terrorist attacks, whose perpetrators are to this day not entirely clear. I like that. That's a diplomatic way of putting it. The CIA supported the murderous Operation Condor in South America. 25 million Africans were captured and 12.5, not in Operation Condor. That would be weird. But they moved on to another one. 25 million Africans were captured and 12.5 million of them died between capture and embarkation from the slave ships that brought them to North America. I mean, yeah. And you may say, why, if you caught 25 million, how did 12.5 million end up dying before they even got to the plantations or wherever they were being shipped? Well, because when you don't view people as human, guess what? All they got to do is try to escape, say they're not going to do something you want, not agree to be chained down, whatever it is. All they got to do is say that and you shoot them because you don't view them as human. If anything, some of these people were saying, well, God said we should probably chain up all these black people and just make them do our bidding. That's what the God guy said. We talked to ours and he was totally into it. He was, I haven't seen him that excited since we started doing child brides. He was just fucking thrilled. 20 million more Africans are believed to have died in slave raids, raising the total that died because of the transatlantic slave trade to 32.5 million. Almost 70% of those who survived the Middle Passage were no longer alive a decade and a half later because living in slavery is, shocking, incredibly fucking difficult. Generally not getting the best medical care, not getting a lot of time to rest and recuperate, generally not being fed the best, or just your health in general, for some odd reason, deteriorates under slavery. I don't know what that is. I don't know if anyone's researched why slavery tends to have a shorter lifespan. Anyway, overall, 41.5 million people may have died because of slavery. And even if that's high, let's say it's 40 million. I mean, even if that's a high estimate, it ain't that high. And it's quite possibly a low estimate. So you add all of these up, and they didn't even get into, like, if you look on this map that they're showing, they barely have Latin America highlighted at all. And of course, Latin America, we supported, because they're basically talking about the direct killing of people by the U.S. And that does not include things like our murderous economic wars on various nations, which have killed millions in Latin America and other countries. It does not count the times we have couped a country, put in a dictator that then went on to kill hundreds of thousands or millions. It clearly doesn't count that, at least in Latin America there. So they're leaving out, and in Africa as well, but in so many places around the world. So they're leaving out just tons of shit. And so 100 million is a really, really light estimate of the U.S. murder machine. That is the largest the world has ever seen. For those who want to argue about the numbers on any one of the things I just mentioned and say, I heard it was more like 38.6 million that died in that one, I don't know what you were talking about. Anyone who wants to argue about that, this is a low estimate because it is leaving out all of the economic sanctions. It's leaving out, like, for example, Madeleine Albright I've mentioned this on a recent show, was asked several years ago, was asked about the 500,000 Iraqi children that died from our sanctions against Iraq. 500,000 children. That's just the children. 500,000 children. She was asked about that, and she said, I think it was worth it. Meaning she's not denying it happened. She's not denying we killed 500,000 children with our economic war on Iraq. She's just saying, I liked it. It was, I thought it was pretty cool. That's all she's saying. All right. So that is a low estimate, but there you have it. These are breaking it down in a way that, I don't think I've mentioned many of those things across the time that I've been doing this, but I didn't have a chart like that showing each of the numbers and bringing it all together into hundreds of million. And a number I like to mention, which this is smaller than 100 million, but it is more, it's the recent deaths in just the war on terror. So again, this is not economic sanctions. It's not anything that's gone on in Latin America or much of Africa. This is just the global war on terror. Just since 2001, the cost of war study by Brown University found 6 million had been killed by our global, quote unquote, war on terror. And that's, again, just since 2001. Okay, so on that upbeat note, I always like to start with something that's just like, it makes me want to skip and like put on a skirt. I don't know why. I just want to have a skirt on and go, hey. I like to start with those stories. But moving on. All right, I'll bring a good news story. A good news story related to us and the 100,000 of you watching around the globe that have helped make this possible. Many of you know that I am running a grayish brown rock that I found on the ground for President of the United States because it will be far better than anything in the two corporate shit show parties. Far better. But the update is that we have now eliminated $65,800 of medical debt for struggling Americans. $65,800 of medical debt has been erased for those drowning under debt in the United States. And that part is not a joke. And I know you're probably like, what the fuck does running a rock for president of the United States have to do with medical debt? Well, there's a tiny merch store connected to the site that you'll see at the bottom that has some Yard Rock merch and has Redacted Tonight t-shirts, a few things like that. And 50% of all the proceeds go to eliminating medical debt. Via RIP medical debt, we can multiply the amount that actually gets eliminated. So thanks to that, we have eliminated $65,000 of medical debt for struggling Americans. And, the campaign's only been going for a little while now. So, but thank you all for supporting it. And many of you have checked out the site, yardrock2024.com. And you can see everything the Yard Rock stands for. I mean, it's never supported a war. It's never supported an increase in Pentagon spending. Never supported global war on terror, invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya. Never committed rape or sexual assault. Never even been accused And that's really important, I think. Never even been accused of rape or sexual assault. I mean, that is one fucking upstanding rock that I found outside. Supports never supported big pharma, big ag, big oil, big banks. Anyway, I won't go through all of them, but that's all at yardrock2024.com. Thought I'd update you on just how much debt we have eliminated. So thank you all for being a part of that. Okay, moving on. A city in the United States, which is the country I unfortunately live in. And was born in and grew up in and never really lived anywhere else for more than a few months. Okay, so a city called San Diego has decided to start enforcing their new law, making it illegal to be homeless. Because that always fixes it. It always does. It always does. So many of you know that because the United States is so horrific to people who are struggling, especially when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to sorry, just trying to figure out this, deciding whether I want to show you that dumb video anymore on loop, but I guess not. When it comes to healthcare, when it comes to public housing, when it comes to schooling, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to any of those things, the U.S. is terrible to people. So you end up with a lot of people who are struggling, who are homeless. And of course, there's millions of others who are just rent insecure, meaning they may find themselves homeless soon. But when you end up with all these homeless, and I actually was going to cover this. I don't know where that, I'll have to find it again, but the number of homeless is actually far larger than we think it is. They say they say that it's 600,000, I believe, was the number before the pandemic. I think the pandemic increased that number, but then on top of that, that's not actually the real number. Most more accurate estimates say it's well over 1 million. Anyway, doesn't really matter. But not only is it incredibly hard to be homeless to begin with, but on top of that, and there should be no homelessness, and we have 17 million fucking empty homes across the entire United States. 17 million. Repeat that number for yourself a few times if it helps. 17 million empty homes. That's not even counting living spaces, office spaces, Macy's. Everyone in this United States who doesn't have a home could live inside a bankrupt Macy's, okay? And a J.C. Penney's to boot. They could have their own. I feel like every homeless person could probably have their own Macy's right now. I feel like we're not far off from that. So they call it enforcement of San Diego's, you're going to love this, unsafe camping ordinance. That's just, you know what, folks? It's unsafe to be homeless. So are we going to give you a home? Are we going to help us? No. We're just, because it's unsafe for you to be out amongst us, we're just going to push you away and maybe arrest you. But yeah, it's unsafe for you to be near us who are not unhoused. I feel it's kind of like a trigger warning when I'm near you, just to be near you, because you don't have a roof over your head. So could you just, we'll pass a law saying it's illegal to be you. So it's illegal to be you now. That should help you, right, in your situation. You have no money, no people, no support system, no community, no clean water, no reliable food source, no roof over your head. I think what would help you, what we could do to help you, is make it illegal to be you. I think that'll probably fix it. Like, would that not? If you make something illegal, it goes away, right? We all know that. We all know that. Like, for example, just to give you one example, just top of my head, drugs, okay? You make them illegal, they're gone. They're gone. I mean, drugs have been gone since Nixon started the war on drugs. We all know that. Here's one example Indo is originally from Sudan. She said she aged out of the foster care system. So she was from Sudan. She probably was either brought here by a parent or was able to get into the United States as a refugee. And so she's in the United States and is underage initially. So she's in the foster care system. She then ages out of the foster care system, clearly has little to no support system, and now she's homeless. Anyway, she said she aged out of the foster care system and is waiting on proper paperwork, leading her to live in a tent in downtown San Diego for the past 2 weeks. She said, I'm depressed as hell, like every day. There are days you don't want to wake up. Please do not wake up tomorrow, I tell myself. And so that sounds like someone, I mean, just like to just name one, that sounds like someone who would really benefit by a new law saying they're illegal. Like them being there is illegal. That should help, right? That should help her. The ordinance prohibits tent encampments in all public spaces. Oh, so you can be there. You just can't have a tent over your head. In all public spaces throughout the city if shelter beds are available. I'll get to that in a moment. It also bans tent encampments at all times in certain sensitive areas. Oh, God. Orwell would just be, he'd give you a French kiss for how beautiful that language is. Orwell would have loved it. Sensitive areas. San Diego, let me show you on the doll which sensitive areas you touched me on. So the sensitive areas that they're talking about are parks, canyons, near schools, transit stations, and near homeless shelters, regardless of shelter capacity. So then a city council member, and I can't tell whether they're opposed it or for it, says, quote, that means encampments are prohibited on all public property citywide at all times, regardless of shelter availability. Okay. So basically, by adding this sensitive area thing, they can then use that to mean just about anywhere, right? Because when it says near schools, well, how close do you have to a school do you have to be? Well, and furthermore, if it's like public spaces, parks, canyons, etc., near schools, that pretty much ropes off everything. Because near schools, okay, well, let's say a mile from each school. Well, are there any miles in San Diego that don't have a school within a mile? Oh, no, there's really nothing that doesn't have a school of some sort. You know, elementary, middle, high, technical, high school for the mentally challenged, the high school for these people or that people, a school, a daycare, a preschool. Like, you add all those up, pretty much everywhere has those nearby. So it's a way to make it all illegal while acting like you're not making it illegal. They don't want to put the language in that says, hey, you can't live in a tent anywhere in San Diego. So they add all this sensitive areas bullshit. Because, you know, transit stations really are sensitive, especially when they're not even repairing them. So they're old and decrepit and the fucking walls have open sores that are dripping somehow. How does a subway wall have an open wound? That defies biology, but they do in New York City. They have open wounds. They have and the band-aids have all come up. Someone the city tried to put some like bandages, some gauze over the open wounds, and it all just oozes off. I don't know what's going on in the subway in New York City, but anyway. So to go back to the idea of, okay, well, it's only if there's not shelter capacity, if the shelters are full, which they said regardless of shelter capacity. So really, it's not true. Anyway, but let's say it didn't have that part. It's only saying, well, only if the shelters aren't full. Here's the thing about homeless shelters. One, many homeless people say, they fucking suck. They suck on many levels. The fact that you can't have your things with you, the fact that because you're laying on top of people and you got a cot and there's everybody walking around at all hours, people you don't know. And I know this is shocking, but when people are desperate, they do desperate things. So lots of times your shit gets stolen in shelters. So it's like, do I want to go into a place, I'm having a rough time. All I have in my name is, a couple pieces of jewelry and a couple of books that mean a lot to me and a letter from my, deceased mother that I keep in one of the books. That's it. And you go in one of these places and people are wandering around at all hours taking stuff. And because people are desperate and they do desperate things. So it's like, yeah, come on in, come on in. You'll just lose whatever tiny number of valuables you have. A lot of them have other problems, such as, the showers aren't working, or you have to shower with 12 other people, and whatever it is that people are not really comfortable with. Some people have kids. There are homeless people with kids. I know, shocking, right? What kind of fucking nation would let people be homeless with children? Oh, just ours, just the United States, just the number one killing machine on the planet, which is the story I just covered. But so it's like, if you have a kid, do you really feel comfortable with your kid around all these people you don't know? It's like all of these things seem like completely normal preferences and desires if this were you or me. Like, I'm speaking to those of you who do have homes right now. Some of you very well might be watching this without homes. I've had people who are houseless who watch sometimes on their, some of them have phones or whatever, and they're able to catch an episode, and they say, unfortunately, I'm homeless right now. So it's not crazy that to think that a certain number of you are homeless right now. But anyway, for those of you who are housed, are all these preferences that I just listed, are they not things you would want? Like, if someone just told you, hey, you have to go stay in this building, and there's just people wandering around at all hours, and you might lose your stuff, and you have to shower with all these other people, and the stall doors, there's no doors on the stalls, so you have to shit in front of others. It's just like a group shit you get to have and sing songs while you do it. Like, all of these things, would you go, oh yeah, sounds great, okay, cool, yeah, no, you'd probably have a preference against a lot of those things. And yet we act like that doesn't matter because these people are unhoused. It's like, oh yeah, you don't want to shit in front of 12 other people? Well, you don't get to make a decision. You don't get to have a preference like that. You're unhoused. You are meaningless. You don't get to have preferences about the shelter you stay in. No. You get to go to the one place we're offering, whether your shit gets taken or not. There's other problems. There's people who, some of these are co-ed. Some of them are I know the term co-ed is so ridiculous, whatever, multi-gender, unisex, which is another crazy term, whatever the new term is for. And for some people, that's very troublesome. They are victims and they don't want to.
Police will start enforcing the city's unsafe camping.
They don't want to be a part of that. So there's that kind of thing that goes on as well. So many issues with. Now, for those who I'm not saying don't have shelters. We should have shelters. For those who shelters work, absolutely go there. But for those who they don't work or they don't want to be there, it shouldn't be like, you're in a tent. Well, fucking illegal criminal. You have a tent, you criminal. God. Just some people are saying they have audio trouble. Is the audio back for those who if you can comment whether the audio is back or not. So, I mean, obviously I don't want to just sit here talking to myself, because that's what I do the other 23 hours of the day. So, but anyway, I think you get the point about the shelters. But so we have 16, 17 million empty houses in the United States, because people buy several houses now when they're rich. That's their form of investment. That's one of their many investments. Just buy several houses and just sit on them. There's also many people who are foreclosed and kicked out of their houses, and then the bank just holds on to them, and they're like, well, maybe we'll be able to be able to sell them for a lot more later. So we'll just hold on to them for a while. So you have empty houses for that reason. But millions of empty houses. But we can't give those to anybody who needs them. No, can't do that. We also have millions of empty office spaces that just sit there. Giant buildings, massive buildings sitting there without being used. You can't have human beings in there that human beings need space. Oh yeah, they do. They desperately need space, just a building that they could be in Oh, they do. Because that's interesting. Because I have an empty building. Oh, you do. Oh, you do. Can they stay there? Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need it to sit empty and just be. It's just be in this. It just sits. We just need it to be empty. Are you planning on using it for, like, are you getting ready to turn it into an active office? No. We're not doing that at all. It's not a good market for it. We're trying to make money off of renting it out and stuff. And yeah. So no. There's no plans to have anyone in it anytime soon. So could these people who need a house? No, absolutely not. They should just live in a tent or something. It's illegal. It's illegal for them to live in a tent. Just insanity. This is insane on so many levels. And of course, I know, sorry to sound like a broken record here, but if you're wondering why there are millions of empty houses and living spaces and yet still homeless people in one of the richest countries, if not the richest country in the world, if you're wondering why that is, I don't know. I don't know why it is. Why did that happen? Capitalism. 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 Sorry, just couldn't contain that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. It seems like there's something wrong with divvying out these spaces to the peoples who need the space. Capitalism. I don't know. I don't know why. We can't just, it's like, oh, you need spaces, we have spaces. You need shelter, we have shelter. If we just find a way to link up those two, but I don't know why. Capitalism, why it's not happening. Don't know. Maybe people smarter than me have to figure it out. That's what, I don't know. All right. And by the way, this insanity of making it illegal to be homeless, and we're going to arrest you, we're going to persecute you, we're going to steal your blankets. There's video of Denver cops stealing the blankets from homeless people. That insanity, just to throw something in here, is actually supported by the Young Turks and other claiming to be left-wing folks. Like, they have done multiple segments on how awesome and wonderful these anti-camping bills are. And you act like you give a shit about a fellow human being. It's just unbelievable. Okay, moving on. Let's see. I said I was going to get to this a little more details later, so I'll do that now. But then I'm going to show you video of, yet again, the Biden administration just attacking activists and the horror show that they try and do to. Oh, also, I have an update on Julian Assange, and yeah, more coming up. But I just want to say this real quick, give you a little more details. So like I said, this will be my first ever Zoom stand-up comedy show, but via Zoom, so available for everyone around the globe. It's also all new material. So it's my first all new material, all new stand-up comedy set since really the beginning of the pandemic. I've done a few stand-up comedy sets, but not a full set of all new material. So this is all new stand-up comedy set via Zoom. It is a fundraiser for the Green Party. As I mentioned at the beginning, for those who missed it, yes, I support the Green Party. I also support other things. So it doesn't mean that the Green Party is all I will ever support, but I think they largely are in the correct. They largely are correct about the world. So, and of course, Cornel West and others are running for president as a Green Party candidate. Now, Cornel West does not have the nomination of the Green Party yet. That doesn't happen until about a year from now. So he is running as a Green Party member. Yes, PSL is another great party. Movement for a People's Party has done some great work. There's a lot of the party thing. Also, then there's a rock that I found outside that is running just as his own self, like his own party. But anyway. So here it is. It's at gp.org, fundraiser _with_Lee_camp. I know that's too much to read out, so I will put this in the chat. But You can probably find it via Google as well. And it's at 9 p.m. I believe. Well, so there's like a meet and greet for some people beforehand. I believe that starts at 8 p.m. Eastern this coming Saturday. But the actual show starts closer to 9 p.m. Eastern. Anyway, you'll get all the details from the website if you want it. It is my goal, we'll see, is to do more of these that are not in the future, that are not fundraisers. And I'll, so rather than it being a $25 ticket, because there's a fundraiser, hopefully I'll be able to do these going forward, like, maybe one a month or something. That's like a $3 ticket or something like that. Much more, but much easier to attend. But I do plan on taking the video from this and uploading at least little sections of it later. But anyway, just thought I'd tell you guys about that if you're at all interested. Okay, so I am headed over to rumble.com/LeeCamp for the rest of this. It's all free to attend there. There's no charge, which is what free means. I know some of you were a little cloudy on what does he mean by free? Does he mean I can watch it with my shirt off, but it costs lots of money? You can watch it with your shirt off, but also it is zero cost at rumble.com/LeeCamp. So I hope you will join me over there for the rest of this. And I'm about to show you that video of activists yet again getting attacked by the Biden administration for just trying to save us from ourselves, for trying to save the world. Rumble.com/LeeCamp. All right. People are asking for the link. Jesus. God, you guys made me work so hard. I'm so tired. All the links and the... All right. There's the link. Oh, and this also continues. Live stream also continues on Locals, of course, for all my Locals members. That's leecamp.locals.com. All right. And thank you, those of you at Locals. Thank you guys, because you honestly keep this show going.